we'll I'll try to use, first of all, maybe to have a recap what we did by you presenting briefly your title. Just the title, tell us what you intend to do, so that then I can be able to just maybe give you a glimpse before you submit the abstract. Maybe it could help you. And then after that, I will go to what I had prepared for today, which is basically to look at how to write the concept part. So that's more or less the arrangement. So I don't know whether to give people time, but I think in the process maybe we can have maybe could you type your title and maybe your student number and then the title of your project as I go on, so that then I can be able to review all of them. Is that fine with everyone? Are you able to speak, or I unmute you all? Mute, unmute. So you're able to speak now? So you can post your title and title, and then from there I think I will pick out from there, and then you can be able to give and justify your title. So could we start with Moses or Kevin? Hello. So I can put my presentation. So please try to get your Office 365 account so that I don't need to be admitting you. and then also to avoid strangers, but even if strangers attend, there's no problem actually, because we are giving back to society, I hope. Now, so what I will ask is that you basically post your title and abstract on the conversation so that everyone can be able to see. This is basically a first point where we would like to have you're trying like kind of to copyright your idea. So we start copywriting from the class itself, so that then if everyone knows what you are actually doing, then no one can claim that he was doing. So you can be able to compare and ameliorate what you are doing, or you can be able to see how different things can be done. Probably the idea you are thinking is the same idea that another person can be thinking. So you can either join and then see where the split is going to be, or you could a different idea that you want to do. So that's why I want you to so let's start with Kevin. Kevin is saying so all of you can post so that then we go on. I think I want to just spend the first 20 or so minutes to go through the titles. So maybe Kevin, you can tell us briefly what you want to do in terms of contact tracing with machine learning.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I was thinking that I could do something in relation to COVID-19 contact tracing by identifying, for example, if a user is COVID-19.
Yes.
Be able to tell everywhere they have been and whoever they have been in contact with over the period of a certain period of time.
How would you manage?
I was thinking of using some kind of location tracker, which can be able to, using the phone, can be able to track a person's movements and the devices that were closest to him and for how long they were close to him, to be able to identify if they are, for example, COVID-19 positive, or if they have a chance of being positive.
Yeah, so then the aspect of that machine learning that you need to define, you need to bring out clearly what is it. What I get is that you want to do contact tracing, probably using
yes,
tree analysis or something like that. Yeah, so that should come clear.
Yeah, and then to make the work of the people who are tracing easier, I would like to use some kind of unsupervised learning to be able to predict the people who actually have COVID-19, to prevent some kind of false negative, or to prevent people from not being able to identify the people who are actually COVID-19. So based on some kind of unsupervised learning, I can be able to tell the people who actually have a higher chance to have COVID-19 based on their geolocation data.
Yeah, but then that can't be unsupervised, is it? Just to be supervised.
It's
because unsupervised, then it maybe what unsupervised means is that, for instance, if you want to map the country into, like, let's say 5 clusters.
Yes.
Without basically labeling whether, so then you can be able to use, maybe, let me give the example of a terrain. So if you want to see what crop can grow, the soil mapping in terms of similar soils to be in the same, without really considering first of all what it's, so if you do 5 clusters, then it means that you're not considering the label at the beginning.
Yes.
So you are saying you do a mapping based on that, and then once you get the 5 clusters, then you start doing characterization. Now, when you do characterization, then has to be basically, so you'll have to use labels. So in your case, I don't think you're using, I don't know. That's the, so if you are doing a prediction, so long as you say something to do with a prediction, then it may basically it's a classification problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's but then you can really refine this.
Yes.
And then let's see. Next, I think you guys can post your titles so that then I can go on reading them. As I said, this is a way of basically starting. All this is basically you have an idea, but then you want to see whether there is someone else who has the same idea. That's why we do normally literature review. But then now we want to start by doing a literature review within the group, within the class, so that then you will discover who is doing similar things and stuff like that. So let's have the next person, Moses. All of you can post so that then I just go through the okay. Vanessa, okay, let's start maybe with Moses. So parental control model for kids. Just explain to us.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so the parental model is, I'm basing it on kids. You see, the thing is that kids have a lot of free time compared to adults to browse the internet. And then I was looking at it from the perspective of YouTube and Google, and then maybe a social media platform like Twitter. If we started off with YouTube, I was seeing that there isn't much model like that can say when kids are browsing YouTube, what exactly are they doing? What videos are they watching? Are they watching videos that are not supposed to be for their age bracket? So the model is supposed to, for example, predict what the child is on YouTube. Then you'd be able to contact the parent, for example, and it'll kind of check this content is inappropriate for the kid, for the certain age bracket.
But is that not sufficient just to have a filter?
Pardon?
Is it not sufficient just to have a filter?
No. The issue with filters I was seeing is that it can be bypassed easily, switched on and off. For example, safe mode. It's easy to switch it on and off when you have an email address. That I was looking at a model that can do a better job in that perspective.
But then how do you prevent that from basically the idea of how do you prevent this from the idea of the student also again circumventing that control, whatever control that you will have?
I was looking at making my control more difficult to switch on and off without parental guidance. It will be installed by a parent, e.g. with, let's say, an email address, and I'll have included some security features to make it more difficult to be able to switch it off. For example, in order to switch it off, an email allows to send a response to the email address it was created with, and from then on the person will have to confirm it from there. I was thinking that the email address can be from the parent.
Yeah, but what will prevent the kids from creating an email address and basically also behaving like a parent? You've never heard of high school children who hire people to come for the the disciplinary case for them.
Yeah, I've heard of such scenarios.
So anyway, you need to think, I think, beyond there. Probably maybe we could, I don't know, you could try to check on, maybe, unless you want to talk about the last year there was someone who was doing things to do with checking whether the kids are normal, stable, like for instance, I think this Kennedy, I don't know whether you know him. He was trying to do something to do with how to detect whether a kid is stressed or not, tweet, and maybe natural language processing could help or something like that. But I've not gotten, maybe you could think a little bit further on that. It's like what will prevent the kid from doing that. Then we can go, thanks, Moses.
Okay, thank you.
Then we can go to Vanessa. Prediction of probability of occurrence of diarrhea using household indicators. Maybe you can explain to us. Vanessa, are you in? Yes. If she's not in, maybe then we can go to the Vanessa Shege. She's not in. Maybe then we can go to the next person. Or was she saying? The next one was Moses, we have done. Tuti, I don't know what is the title with that sign anyway. Ibrahim Aziz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so for me, I basically wanted to make an application where, okay, so actually, let's start with the problem.
Yeah.
You know, most of us enjoy football,
Yeah.
playing in the 7-a-side pitches, which have become so many recently.
Yeah.
But now there is one, maybe there's a team that is supposed to play, but people. Like, you have to have a specific number of players to enjoy the game. Maybe if it's a 7-a-side pitch, you have to have at least 14 people. So there are many cases where you're like 13 or 12 or 11, where you have like 3 people missing. And so the app I want to create is basically allows teams to post that they're lacking a few people, and so now other players can request to join the.
Is that? So I didn't understand exactly the aspect of, you are saying you have 7-a-side, so how will your app help now? What will be the solution that your app is providing?
Okay, so since there may be less players, let's say a team already knows each other that there are 11 of them, and 14 people are required, so there are 3 missing. So using the app, the organizer, the match organizer, can post that they are missing 3 people, where now the other players who are, let's say they want to play but they don't have teams, can request to join the game. I don't know if it's clear.
But maybe you could think of how, so you want randomly to get people from outside randomly?
Yes, randomly using, I want to try and use AI to maybe get the players that they lacking, maybe in terms of skill or positions.
Okay. Yeah, but I would have preferred probably you try to get maybe team, like you see kids or I don't know, to form teams through maybe the ones who can rhyme well, or I don't know, something like that. But so that then it sounds like maybe if we say, like for instance, plays well with Peter, but then if you want to do random, maybe I don't know, using personality or using temperament or whatever, then you can be able to form a team that can play better, or I don't know, something like that. So that's Vanessa, you can unmute your microphone. Vanessa Shege. I'm not able. Okay. Go next. I think she says you. So we can go to Nicholas Magak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I want to the big pool table. To make an that is able to gain my result. Basically table, right?
How will you use that? What are put that this then you can adapt to his skill?
Okay, I've been looking into something called Q learning. It's basically learning based on improving, right? It's just what machine learning does. But assumedly, a player would need to play against the AI at its normal setting at first. And then the AI will use its past, let's say, the tactics, the game I used against them in the next round if possible.
So you will be adapting, based on the scores or on the way how tough the person has been or something.
Yeah, something like that, based on how the players played previously, or at least their past experience with the AI.
Okay. Could you think of like using that for learning?
Learning.
Yeah, like for instance, if you do a serious, what we call, maybe you can go check on serious games. Like for instance, if you develop an app, a game, the same game, but then you incorporate like concepts into it.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, I'm trying to integrate something called Q learning.
Yeah, but not just learning as in to learn how difficult the game is, but how, like for instance, if you do a biology quiz, for instance, for the kids in, I don't know, in standard 7 or 8 or whatever. Then they can be playing and they get what is this and stuff like that, like the game integrated with a concept, so that then in the process they are learning, and then you keep increasing the difficulty based on how well they are getting to play the game and get the score. Anyway, something that you could think of.
I can look into it.
Okay, fine. Good. So Vanessa is trying to fix, so we can just go to the next person.
Yeah.
You are okay now. You can go on. So you can go on. Hello? I think we have lost. Then we can go to Papa. Is this your correct name or?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is your name Papa?
Yes, it is.
It's. Are you French? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Okay, for my project, it's an early infection prediction system in which, for expectant mothers, are using pulse rate and machine learning. Because in this case, I did my research and realized in any infection, the first thing that goes wrong is your pulse rate. So in this case, we're talking about high pulse rate readings, upwards of 100 beats per minute. So in what I'm trying to do is detect it earlier and at least help the expectant mother spare, let's say, a few minutes, so that he can be able to go and see the doctor. Because in this case, I did talk to a doctor previously, and I did realize that most mothers, especially first-time mothers, aren't sure of what to expect during their first pregnancy. For example, they may think that a certain sign that they're experiencing is normal, in which case it's not. And in this case, I'm trying to detect certain infections, certain complications such as tachycardia and VF, in which are rated the third most common cause and the first most common cause of miscarriages and complications. So in my application, we do have a pulse rate reading in which we do get the pulse rate of the.
Papa, how do you get the input for the system?
For the system, I'm going to create either, in this case, I had two options: using a Fitbit data and one creating an IoT-based pulse rate system, in which it sends data to both the.
Are you saying, just a minute? Are you connecting this? The user, the mother, are you connecting that? Are you using maybe a smartwatch or something like that to measure exactly the pulse rate? Okay.
Yes. In this, for the part of with the hardware, we'll create now. Let's say a heart rate sensor or a pulse rate sensor to get, because the vital signs in this case are temperature and the pulse rate. Those are the first things we have to detect, because those are the first two things that go wrong in a human body to detect that you have an infection. So after you do get those readings, we send them to our database. In this database, we do already have some other signs and vital signs. So in this case, our machine learning, I previously researched and found out that for most cases, such as tachycardia and VF, they do have a common trend in which a system of steps to lead into the final, let's say, output, which is you get the attack or restart or infection. So in this case, my machine will predict earlier using your current vital signs whether which will save you time to know that in maybe a couple of hours you might have an infection and we get an attack. So that's what I was thinking about.
Okay. Yeah, but then it sounds a good idea. I just need to think about how Is it going to be the vitals are being taken is it continuous or every day in the morning? Then it connects
Okay,
with your IoT device. So that's something that probably you could highlight. But anyway, it's okay. Let's go to that. Thanks for that. So let's go to Kevin. Kevin Chemtol.
Hi.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, can you hear me? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I
So
can.
basically, my dear, I'm trying to curb the fact that malaria is one of the global burdens in the health sector currently, with so many deaths each year. So basically, the problem is that currently malaria is being tested manually by like doctors, they're microscopists, I guess, who manually count the number of affected red blood cells in your blood test. So basically, this can lead to a lot of errors since you're basically depending on a human person to do the counting. Then secondly, since malaria affects most of the tropical countries, which is basically Africa, there is a lot of lack of resources. So you might find that some countries
how will you measure how will you get the input?
Okay, I'm looking for a medical data set that will have like images of the microscopic pictures of the images of blood films. Then with that now, I'll be able to train the algorithm as CNN, the convolutional neural network, so that I can be able to classify a candidate based on whether their blood cell has malaria parasites or not.
But I thought you are trying to say you do a post-analysis, not a real time.
No, okay, basically, no, but there'll be like a front end part of it where you can upload the image of the blood cell when the blood test has just been taken, so that the blood can go to process.
You just let me understand you. So you'll take the normal tests that they do, the one that I don't know what they do. I think they put some kind of
Okay, you're asking what I want to take when testing or what I want to take to train my model?
When testing, because I want to know in real time, what are you going to, like, I want to use your system to know whether the malaria is there or not. So what am at the end, what will I use to determine that?
Oh, okay.
After you have trained, of course, yeah.
Oh, okay. You take an image. Then once the image, okay, there's
an
this.
Image of what?
The thick blood smear image. There's you know the way, like when you go for malaria test, they take your blood sample.
Yes.
Yeah. So like once the blood sample been viewed under a microscope, there's a way that I was reading those images can be extracted. That is the image that I'll need. But then for the data set that I want to use, there's a lab in the US that has extracted a data set of so many of those images in my model.
Yeah, but in real time now, like for instance, when I will be at my house and I want to get to know, will you provide that tool or that hardware to be able to, I take this and then I put into this glass, it probably changes the color and then takes the image and then it tells me you have malaria or not, or what are you saying?
Oh, okay. Oh, I now understand your question. For that now, there's basically a limitation for that because the image that you get has already gone one of the first microscopic like investigations. So for you can't do it from home, but in the hospitals, it will help the guys who study your blood cells so that they can be able to verify whether you have the malaria parasite, whether you have malaria or not. So for you at home, it can't help you that much, but then in hospitals, it will really help because it will save on time and resources used to employ all these people to do the test because they already have the microscope.
Okay, fine. But I think if you could think of how I can use it my own, you know, like the way we have now the COVID-19, I think you've seen this thing going rounds on the WhatsApp. I don't know
Yeah.
how it is that they have developed a test kit that basically does, like, you know, the way probably I think the way you take like HIV tests, you know, the HIV you just take and then you put some liquid onto it, and then
Yeah.
it changes this shape, and then you get to know. So they use the saliva, I think, or yeah, they use the saliva. Then from there you can actually get to know whether it's COVID. So with this, then they are able to map every center. All you need to have is that gadget. But now for your case, you can have the connection between that reading to be done automatically, such that then it tells the person, because first of all, people might not be believing and stuff like that. And so anyway, you can think of around that line. Let me not preempt what probably you will be doing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that is now before you go to the which method, because there are so many methods, so let's just remain clear on how you will be using the what is the input that you will be getting. Then Julie, I don't know whether Vanessa you are in, you can speak.
Yes, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just go on.
Okay, so my idea is to predict the probability of child diarrhea or just diarrhea using household indicators. So my data contains a lot of household indicators, such as the water usage in a household, things like if they have a functional latrine, if their water source is protected. It has a lot of household indicator data that can serve as the input to the model, and the output to the model is the child diarrhea column, which shows whether a certain household has experienced it or not. So this will be able. This can be used by.
Yeah, but what comes into my mind is you know these indicators could be there. I don't know, where did you do your community-based attachment?
At AMREF. Oh no,
AMREF.
at AMREF.
Yeah. So the thing is that maybe if you go to like a place like Kibera slums here, or Kurwa Jenga or whatever, these informal settlement areas, all these indicators are there, but the kids will not be having diarrhea. You know why? Because there's what we called pre-exposure. Like, for instance, anyway, this is my theory, but I don't know whether it is true. For instance, why, despite the fact that actually we are very exposed to COVID-19 because of the Chinese presence, most likely we got the COVID-19 in the country maybe before actually US, because I think our interaction with the Chinese is much higher. But then we have had not many cases. We have had maybe, I think we have had 300 and something, but even those 300 is because of we have gone an extra mile and getting them. So the severe cases are like, I think 2 right now, I don't know. So it means that probably we are getting the virus is being passed on, then maybe our exposure to the other viruses, which are maybe more complex or more harder than COVID-19, seems to have overridden the. So it's the same thing with the slum dwellers. So they have been pre-exposed to many worse things. So, like for instance, the level of hygiene is it's like the body has gotten used to it. Threshold that is a bit higher for them to get sick. So, like for instance, you'll expect that kids who are playing in the mud, which is dark in the slums, will be more sick than the people who are in Karen, but that's not the case. Actually, Karen people will be. So what I think of like for instance, getting the symptoms or the vitals of the kid and then tracking based on that particular case. So like for instance, like last year, I think I had one of the final year students in ICS doing the poo correlation. So like for instance, if you assess the color of the poo, the way it's changing, then we know that there is a likelihood that the kid is sick and so on. So you could think of a direction like that and then see what has been done, and then you can be able to do that. I don't know whether that is a small contribution could help you.
Yeah, it can, it will.
So you just look at around there, like kids, I think children, and then monitoring them and is a very interesting area, because the major problem that we have in health is actually the children and expectant mothers. So like the way Papa was saying to talk about, so you can also focus on the children side and then try to track there. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So the main aim of asking you to present is basically for me to just have a glimpse, maybe to help you, so that then before you submit your abstract and title, at least you will have had a little bit of another idea from me probably. So we can go to the next person. Let me just see. So Vanessa, Nicholas, you've done. Papa, Kevin. So we can go to Julie.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so for my system, my idea came from this period of COVID-19. So what I've realized is in most Kenyan high schools, online learning is not something that has been adapted. And this has brought a lot of challenges in continuity of learning during this period. So what I observed is that the ways that the country, or rather the students, are trying to make things work is either by watching study programs in TV and listening to radio stations. Also, the parents and teachers have been sharing content via WhatsApp and maybe email. And also another source of the study materials has been online, but what I realized is the content is quite scattered. So in that case, we can, for the television and radio stations, they're not able to cater for all the students because the programs are aired at different times, and maybe you can find from 4 students and from 1 student in the same house, so the timings are quite a challenge.
So
also,
maybe just to get it clear, are you doing virtual learning like the one that we are doing, or you are doing e-learning? You know, the one that, for instance, you give content and then everyone does at their own pace.
Okay, I'm about to get there. So
because you have to summarize a bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking of coming up with a platform where a particular school such that the students get information directly from their teachers and not scattered sources. So I was planning to come up with a platform where teachers can upload content and also upload quizzes that they can test their students and also monitor their performance online. So yeah.
Yeah, but then what you will have to ask yourself is probably what will be different from the model platform that we have. There are several systems that are online, like are free.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like which you can customize and so on. Like I know in our the e-learning that we are using now, you see it has even the big blue, they call it big blue button. I've not used it myself, but I think it's they have integrated, plus now you can do the quizzes, you can do all those. I think you have, so that you will need to think of how to make it dynamic, like if it can be real time, I think that will be good. So like for instance, if you are learning a particular subject, I will tell you the same thing I said before, of probably how do you get to separate different capabilities and all that kind of something that can be used even beyond this time of COVID. So like for instance, if you have access to a particular material, to a particular quiz, then how do you tell, like if you go to, I don't know whether you guys did a bit of Cisco CCNA when you're doing the network. So you have those exams and then once you have done the exam, you have a way in which they analyze for you and tell you which topic you are weak, and anyways, like you need to think of the add-on, what it will add in addition to what we have already. That's good.
Okay, sure, I'll try to figure it out. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we can go to the next. I will not finish all. Maybe I will just actually stop in the middle. But all of you, please try to ensure that all of you send me the title and abstract right here on the IM, so that then I can be able to respond maybe back. So the next person was, sorry. Okay. So that was on e-learning. So the next one was Roseanne. Can
you hear me?
Yes. How do you pronounce your name? Roseanne.
It's pronounced as Roseanne.
Roseanne. Okay. I think in French you will say Roseanne, but in English probably is Rosanne, or I don't know.
Okay.
Are so you okay? Fine. Go ahead.
Basically, my idea is, okay, the problem is like we always have a problem picking out gifts for someone because you never really know what to give them. So what I intend to do is like use the data, like I do social media analysis, get data from a social media platform on what you usually like, and then based on what you like, I create a recommender system that will recommend that this person actually likes a lot of shoes, so I think you should buy them shoes, something like that.
But like in Twitter, will you say I like shoes?
Now,
how did that translate?
If I'm to use, okay, currently, I only have an API key for Twitter. I'm trying to get for Instagram. My ideal social media platform is Instagram. But if I'm unable to get Instagram, because it's a bit harder to get it for Instagram than Twitter, I Twitter for the demo.
Yeah, but maybe you could do, you don't have to know exactly, because otherwise if the people say that they like shoes, because if I like shoes, I would like to have a gift of shoes, then it means that probably if I tweet that last year, maybe by now, there's this idea of I don't know whether you have heard about the 10th apple. So the diminishing gratification as you get things, so which will change. But what I was thinking of is, why can't you put this for, like, for instance, if I want to, if you want to buy for your friend or your sibling a gift during the birthday or something like that, and you want it to be surprise, therefore you can mine the kind of tweets that they do, like for instance the top like the way people I don't know whether it's possible, but you can do that research. I don't know whether the way people construct sentences is different based on a particular personality. Therefore, a personality of this type will like this kind of gift and stuff like that. But anyway, something that you could think about.
That's something I actually thought of, yeah. But then I have to, okay, we can all have the same personality, but then we have different interests.
Yeah, like for instance, what will be of, like for instance, if I tweeted in a particular format, then 3 weeks down the line I went and bought this particular thing, then you can be able to, I don't know whether it's possible. Anyway, you can try to check and then see. Like for instance, if today I have tweeted about is good or whatever, and then if you have the data from that links what the person maybe 10 days later he posts that he has this, so maybe then you can be able to get that and see something like that. But anyway, I don't know, you can, it's a good area of especially the technical side of machine learning, how to be able to learn from text and so on. Good. So we can go to Emmanuel.
So my idea is about machine learning based app to help prevent miscommunication, depression, and anxiety that arises from miscommunication. So this will be achieved through the analysis of text messages to determine the personality of the person you're chatting with, and provide helpful suggestions on how to approach them and what to text them. So this will prevent depression by analyzing the text messages of the person you are chatting with and see if they are depressed or not. So a typical example of where anxiety may arise is if you think someone likes you or not. So in order to prevent you from sending the wrong text and being able to analyze the text messages between you and the person you're chatting with and give you a crash that person has a message.
Anyway, you can look at also similar thing. I don't know how I will manage to post this. What was done last year and the year before. I think there's someone also who did something to do with how to detect that someone is going into a depression. Okay, irrespective of whether it's because of the communication with another person or something, so that then you can produce a cure. Maybe it will at other systems that are existing and then see what kind of contribution that you can make. So Marvin?
Can you hear me?
Marvin, yes?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so my idea was to make blogging platform using a PWA system that has server-side rendering. So for the PWA, I'll be using Vue.js framework called Next.js, and then that will be integrated with server-side rendering. Basically, what server-side rendering means is when the website is uploaded to the browser, to the user's browser, every time the user sends a request, it doesn't have to reload the entire website. It just reloads the part that they need. So unlike like a normal HTML, CSS, or even JavaScript website, with Vue.js and Next.js, it provides two types of application. There's a single page application. Examples of that would be like your email for your Gmail. Once, if you've ever noticed with your Gmail, once you click on an email or something of the sort, the website doesn't reload itself. It just pops up the website, but and it's very responsive. So my idea and my line of thought was responsive time. For normal websites, you take about 5 to 7 seconds to load user data, but for a PWA that can be cut down to almost 2-3 seconds. Yes.
I'm not very, I think I'm not an expert in that area, but so which particular, are you targeting a particular group or a particular sector?
So my main target would be just normal users. So assuming you want to read an article, but then you didn't have a lot of time. You have the schedule and you only have about 10-15 minutes to read the article. If you're taking close to 20-30 seconds to read new content every time, for example, when you want to click the next page or something of the sort, you're losing about half the time that you have taken to read. So my target audience is mostly readers, and I want to find a way to reduce the time that it would take to render in reader content.
Okay. Have you ever heard of something called eye tracking?
Eye tracking? Yes, I have.
Yeah, like for instance, you could determine, I don't know whether if you want to, this is a different thing, but probably like for instance, you could determine how interesting, because one of the factors probably is how interesting the article is. So you could determine automatically how interesting the person gets the article by basically having because all our PCs now, our laptops have connection to the camera.
Yes.
And then you have your app now to track the pupil of the eye. Then we can be able to see how much the blinking the person does, how much he stares at a particular place for how long, and so on. Then you can do analysis and get there.
I'll look into that.
That could also be a possibility. Anyway, so I think I will stop there in terms of this. So I will use because I want to introduce something small before I go on. So I will use the titles that you sent on the chat here as basically the attendance. So if you have not thought of any, then you can actually write anything that you're thinking now, so that then I can be able to. There is no time that you will ever be perfect in terms of there's no time that you will be perfect in terms of having the correct idea. So you just need to broadcast the idea and then you keep on refining it. So what you are giving it now is not necessarily what you present at the end. So the idea is just to encourage you to air out your ideas. So as you are airing, actually this, as you are airing it out, then you get to hear what the others are doing, and then you also, the others get to know what you are doing. So that way then there's a kind of confidence growth, such that then you can see like so and so is also actually something similar to mine, but then, or so and so is doing something better, therefore I can also pull up my socks and do something a bit different. Or at least I'm not worse. You know, you can also say that at least I'm not doing that badly because I saw someone who is also struggling and stuff like that. So this is the aim of this particular class. It's the most interesting part of your course actually. So because it's the only one that you'll actually have to do things without being judged badly. Of course, we'll like for instance the abstract and the title. We will basically evaluate it and then give it how original it is and so on. But then during the class, majority of the time, except for the time that you will be presenting, now to get to I think this the that so it's just that you need to rethink that. So what I wanted to go through is I wanted to go through to do your concept. Now the concept, the research concept is mainly ideally we talk about a concept being consisting of from the beginning a write-up of the title, the abstract, and then chapter 1, which is basically the introduction. But as I said last week, we should not look at like the document, but basically looking at making it. So that's what at. You will document your thoughts. You see everyone an idea on what you want to do, and then you will document the thoughts. So you will have, I think I've said there is a which you will have title, the first page where you have the title, the supervisor, and all those kind of stuff. You will have the declaration that this work is correct. For instance, with a medical field, then one of the acknowledgements that you will do is that you will say that actually doctor whom you are you'll of course say also that this work was not possible, was it not for the supervisor, and so on. So basically the supervisor will be there. It's just acknowledgement is basically to say who are work, because the yours alone. Okay, so that is another thing. You will have you'll have the set of table figures, content, and all those kind. Those are standard things that I don't want to look at. The terms, the definitions, and all that. So that one you can be able to get. But now in the document, you'll have the introduction, which is what I want to look at, and then you'll have the body, and then you'll have a conclusion. Now the bodies will consist of several chapters, and then what is normally also important is the references that you are using. Actually, the references and the abstract can tell what kind of work that you are doing. Okay, because the references then will tell me what other applications exist that you are building on. So this is how you will get it. So you'll have the introduction part, which is what I wanted to look at today, but I don't know whether I have a lot of time. Then you'll have a review of the existing work. Then you'll do the methodology. I think I can say the first two chapters are the most difficult. So if you manage to go through a serious critical thinking on the first one, introduction and literature review, more or less, then you will be having a good work. So if these are original, if the originality is high, then we will be okay in terms of, like, if you get it correctly on the introduction and you do a good literature, you're as good as done, because the next thing is to code and then present what you have. And I'm assuming you are coding. So what I will, just from the word go, let me just try to insist on, or to help you finish this project very easily. And the more complex you are in terms of the technical aspects, like in terms of coding and computing, the more complex, like you go into an advanced kind of things in computer science, the better your project and the easier it is to finish. Now, if you do, if in terms of the technical side, it is not that technical, like it is not, there's not a lot of things that you are doing, then in the beginning it looks easier to do, but it is very difficult from your side actually to be able to finish the project, because you keep on asking yourself whether you have actually done that. So that's why the completion rate of computer science students tends to be higher than social sciences. So like maybe people who are doing BCom or other things, I think their projects are much easier, of course, what you're saying from the technical point of view, because there is actually need to do a lot, very little in terms of actual work, because then they have to discuss things, they have to interview more people and so on. But for us, it's we tend to finish faster because you know where you're going. You know, if I do like this natural language processing, text and so on, and then I use a machine learning this, and then I combine this other method, you get like, once you are through with that, you know that you are through actually, because the system is either working or not working. So it's easier to be able to accomplish that. So for your case, what I will advise you is try to ensure that at minimum you have the mobile app part for the user to use. Then you have a backend. Maybe most likely the backend will be a web-based, at least for the minimum, so that then you'll have maybe if an Android or an iPhone based or something like that, that you can actually, your system will be able to run there, and I can be able to run it on as an app on my mobile phone. Right now everyone has a mobile gadget, so from user point of view, some people, more like, for instance, you may be connecting like way we were talking about, maybe you have an IoT device that is be able to communicate. So like, for instance, if I take the issue of agriculture, for instance, I think that it was the next one we were supposed to get, smart. So then you will have like maybe a smartphone part that basically an application that the application is connected to your mobile app that basically is able to capture what is happening in the farm and all that kind of aspects. And then you have the web part, which basically is able to the administrator, but then to an individual person may be able to that some people might need a different kind of interface for the user. So for instance, if you are doing I don't know, if you are doing some kind of manipulation that probably is an X-ray system, you are connecting to that. Maybe at the end it will still send some message to a mobile app and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, if there is a skill that at least the mobile application development, maybe I think you guys are doing IoT right now. So, and so those are kind of things that can give you a leverage in terms of making your work a little bit better in terms of going beyond what has been designed on the. So there are some people probably who might speak the issue of like testing, for instance, COVID-19 testing, or we were presenting about malaria testing. So maybe you want to partner with a particular hardware device that basically you can be able to pick, and then those results can actually come on a mobile. I'm thinking like it is possible maybe to pick what these guys of Senegal have done, and then your part can be to automate that process. So instead of them coming to look at it, you can it can, once the gadget has done analysis, then you connect that gadget to a mobile app that is able to tell, like, based on this color, then this you have COVID-19 or something. Then it tells you, like, it sends to the person who has been taken and so on. So there is a couple of questions. Do we have to create a mobile application? As I have said, it will be to your good advantage if you have that. So the more user friendly and the more complex you have, then it will be basically, it will add on to your whatever that you have. Anyway, so that is what you will have: the introduction, the literature review, the methodology, and the design. So the introduction is very important because then it places your work into the context and sets the scene. Then you will introduce major concepts there. And again, so instead of, for each chapter, we will be having basically a summary at the end of each of the chapter. But in chapter 1, we will basically see what's coming. That gives like an overview of everything that you want to deal with. Now, the introduction part, I think my power is getting, let me disconnect. So as I try to reconnect my charger, so those people, everyone should, I guess everyone has managed to send me the title. As I said, this is what I will use as the attendance, but also it will help me to just give you a side chat on basically on the feedback probably before you submit. Can you hear me now? Okay, fantastic. It's okay. I think now we can. So anyway, what I wanted to say is that so what I wanted to raise is that then the concepts that you want to write will basically consist of 5 parts. So you have the background, and then the statement of the problem, objectives, and then the scope of the study, and lastly you give a justification. In the end, normally you can give the summary of how the entire document is, but I think at this point you may not be having that. So you'll have basically these sections. So in the background, what do you write? The background is actually the same as what you wrote in on the abstract, except that now you will want to, so you'll want to summarize them and then give references to what you're doing. So you'll talk about the problem. So like for instance, the example we are doing of fault detection, then the current state, and then your contribution to this. So that will set pace for the problem statement, which is basically generally the gap that you want to fill, using which approach before you move on. So let me insist on the background. The background is exactly the same as what you have in the abstract, except that now you have to cite the sources. Remember, we said in the abstract you don't cite the source. So anything that requires citing, you don't put it in the abstract. Like for instance, 5,000 people die every day out of malaria. That is not a statement you can put in the abstract, because that requires that you have to quote the reference. Where are you getting that kind of information? But then now you will say in the abstract, you will most likely say many people are dying out of malaria and it's becoming a big thing and so on. So the general way that will not require someone to pin you down and say you are so authoritative, where are you getting the information? But now when you come to the background, you will say, basically you'll have to quote figures, you'll have to quote the source, you'll have to say 5,000 people die every day out of malaria. Then you have to say maybe the source, if it's WHO or it is through the African whatever and so on, or it's through a particular research that was done and so on. So you'll have to, so the same way that you are developing the problem in the abstract, you'll still develop it here, but citing the references and expanding it a little bit more. So you are trying to discuss more of what you had in the abstract. And then the current state also, you'll have to say currently malaria is being detected through this and so on. So that then it can form your argument. And then this method of artificial neural network has not been tried before, so on. Then that will end your background. Then after that, you'll summarize. So the background normally is about one page to 1.5 maximum, so you shouldn't go more than that, but it should not be less than maybe 1 page. Okay. Then the problem statement is just 1 paragraph or 2, half a page maximum, that says the problem in summary and the magnitude, and then the gap that you want to fill, and probably the approach that you want to follow. Then we go to the objectives, but I don't know whether there is I don't know whether there's any question regarding that. So in terms of objectives, there is a broad objective of what you want to achieve. So like for instance, if I may use the one for Vivian that has just arrived, remote patient monitoring system. So the broad objective is to develop a remote patient monitoring system. The specific objectives is, first of all, you'll have to, the objectives basically will cover what you're going to do for the entire project. So most likely you'll like to see what are the other systems being used, what are the problems in monitoring patients. And then one key thing is that you have to propose something. So you'll have to propose a system that basically does remote monitoring. That is one of the objectives. And then lastly, you have to test. You have to propose and test. So those are key. They have to be there. What you are proposing and then what you are testing. It is, I always hear this, especially from students, that I don't know what I am going to propose, that's what I'm going to do research. That is not research at all. Research is basically you have an idea of what you want to do, but then you have not developed, in computing, you have not developed the real so you have not So you have not basically developed the system, but you know which system you are going to develop. I don't know whether that is clear. So like for instance, Vivian knows that she's going to do a remote patient monitoring system, but all she has not done is to develop the system. That is different from you not knowing what actually you're going to do. So maybe, so you can't say that that is part of research, what I'm going to do. So you have, in the objectives, you have to propose something and then say that you will have to test that. So that thing has not been developed and has not been tested. Now, the other things you may have, what people call research is actually a review of the literature. So that's not research. Like for instance, you have read about what has been done here and so on. That is literature review. And then some people also confuse research with survey. So if you interview people, that is a survey, not a research. So, but then the survey will be part of the research component. So like for instance, if you want to do this thing of remote patient monitoring, then you will have to interview the caregivers, the hospitals, and the doctors, and all that kind of aspects, right? So that is clear, I hope. Now, the big aspect actually here is what we were looking at last week. You need to know what you are proposing. So that will form your hypothesis. So you need to form an hypothesis saying that whatever that I'm proposing is better than what someone else is basically has. So what will the hypothesis do? The null hypothesis always states that like in your case, my system is the same as the existing systems. So that's what we will start with. You should not think of the aspect of my system is better than a manual. So that's not where we are, that's not the comparison we are doing. We are doing the comparison that my system is better than the existing system. So that's why we are saying that the literature part is very important, because then that gives you what are these other systems that you want to compare with, so that then at the end you say my system is better than what is existing. So that then you can reject the null hypothesis that my system is the same as the existing systems. Okay, so that's what we will call the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Like the user satisfaction of the proposed smartphone mobile application is approximately equal as the existing, which is web-based kind of. This is a simple thing. I guess you guys won't go to this particular level. Yeah, and then after that, then you'll have to give, of course, the justification, and then you do the references. But I will not talk about the references for now. I will leave it when I will be looking at the review of the related works. So I think that's where I will end. But so just to explain what I have done on the e-learning. So we have, maybe let me just go there. So on the e-learning, are you all able to access the e-learning using the enrollment key that I shared? So let me see how many have managed to enter. 40. Wow. Now I think there is a wow. So let me just present program. I think there is a little bit of a stability. Is this what you are seeing from your side? Hello? It looks like, I think there has been a change. It looks like there's been a change on what I had updated. This is last year's group. So are you able to see what I had previously? Did you manage to see? Hello?
You posted our work in the one that is written 2020, April 2020.
Yes. Was it working?
Yes. It depends. What do you mean by working?
Like, are you able to go, when you go in that, you are able to enroll and you are able to see it?
Yes.
Are you able to see the first event, and then there is a place where you are supposed to put in the abstract and so on?
There was the tiny, like a place
A
to
tiny
turn.
team kind of, yes. You saw it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I am seeing like now it looks like it has been changed, because what I'm seeing here, oh yeah, it's a 2020. So this other one is from last year, then we have 2020. I was getting actually worried that, so this is what you're supposed to see. There's a schedule. Are you all seeing the schedule? Hello? Maybe you can speak, because when I'm presenting, I can't be able to see the text.
Yeah, we can see it. Okay, now it's gone.
Okay, yeah. So basically these first 2 weeks from now on, I guess what I've given up to now, I think all of you are, and I have reviewed, I think for the people who managed to post the first 10 that I have actually reviewed today. So at least I've given you some kind of light to be able to comfortably give me a title and an abstract. So all the deadlines are on Sunday midnight on the system. It's Sunday 23:59. So of course it is better if you guys, since we have been having the class on Tuesdays, it is better if you guys can try and submit, because as we go on, especially after next week, when I will have assigned you the supervisors, then it is good if you manage to contact your supervisors and discuss, or you do the system much earlier than this Sunday, so that then suppose that power goes off at your place, and then you will get into problems. So the earlier I would prefer that you submit these things before Friday, always. When there's a deadline, you just try to ensure that you do it before Friday. In the case of unlikely events that you can't do it before Friday, by Friday, then you can use the Saturday or the Sunday, depending on, preferably the Saturday, but or maybe if you are a person of the Sabbath, then you can do it or very early in the morning on Sunday, then so that then we don't have issues to do with deadlines. Okay. And then the other part will be due at the end of the month. But in between there, what we'll do is that after you submit this, then now you'll make a nice PowerPoint presentation, which then I will give slots for each person. So for what I was doing here today was actually a more of informal feedback that to give. So then I will make a schedule for you to make the presentations as from next week. So you just need to tell us the title and the abstract, just like the 10 who have just presented today, the way they were doing, but then they will have a nice presentation, which I will give you control to do. And then that will be the series until we get to the next level, which will be the concepts, the project concept, and then we'll do a proposal like that. That's how we'll be going through the aspect. So the what is on the e-learning is in sync with what I have here on the schedule. Where I change on the e-learning, and basically that supersedes what I have here, because at some point maybe we might, some things might come earlier, some things might, because depending on how this situation goes, some things maybe we might change. But you need to be, if we can follow this schedule, then we can be able to, before we end this before we end this semester, then we should be able to have at least had an opportunity where we have started the design. First of all, the idea is well accepted, and then you have started the design, such that then when you come in the next semester, it's not clear right now, since everything we are doing it at home, and every day looks like on a Saturday or on a Monday. But then the thing is that the important thing is just to follow the schedule, and then we can be able to get there. I have anticipated that basically at the end of the day we will have, the exams are likely to be on, if I count the number of weeks, which is 12, 14 kind of, then the exams are likely to start at this particular point. So you'll have a break to do the exam for 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks for you to be able to go home and okay. By then I hope we'll have come back. It looks like this situation is actually not going to be as bad as we thought in Africa. So most likely, I think by that time we will be back in full swing, happy. Then as you do the exams, so there I will take a break, of course. And then you will take another 2 weeks break, probably to breathe fresh air. Given that this has been really, it will be have been very demanding. Then we'll come for the second semester, according to my approximation, based on the time that you guys officially started, which was on Monday 20th. Most likely, then you will come back on 24th, and again, the week of study, you will do you'll do the presentation. Then there's something interesting here that I've introduced, which is basically an hackathon, where basically you can be able to compete among all the three groups, so that's BTC, ICS, and BBIT. This one initially we are using the collaboration we have with Microsoft. I hope other companies will come in also, so that then some of these top students can be given scholarships, can be given internships, paid internships, and all that kind of aspects. So that is something that to look forward to. I think that is good enough for today. I don't know whether there is anything someone would like to ask, so I'll stop presenting. Yes, anything?
Hi.
Yes, Julie?
I have a question on the hackathon. So,
yes.
What does it entail?
The hackathon actually will be, what we'll have is like a kind of a competition where we will try to see, so what we want to do is a spillover from the projects that you have done for that year.
Yes.
Then we will select now, like for instance, the ones that will be gauged as very good from the groups. Then we will be able to present that. So like for instance, after you guys have managed to finish, like you have done, the evaluation has been done and so on, then from this, let's say 10 projects that we have selected that are very good, then we will ask, like for instance, you have an option to incorporate more people. So you can incorporate maybe one of your other classmates who was not part of it, so that then it goes to another level in terms of presentation. But ideally, we want to be the good, then we want it to compete among the groups, and then the ones who win, then we want to basically present this now to the other side. So like for instance, we want to have it in such a way that then we can have these people, the top ones, be winning an award and so on, and then after that we are likely to open it up, like for instance the 5 best from Strathmore, after we have combined the 3 groups, then can be able to represent Strathmore in maybe in Kenya, and then East Africa, like that kind of thing. So we want to make, using initially what we want to do is to develop a framework where universities can compete, and so this we are working closely with Microsoft, so hopefully then they can be able to provide that incentives and the framework, and you know, you need a little bit of enticement. Maybe they will give 1 million Kenyan shillings to the winning team or something like that. Like last year, from this Women in Technology project that we were collaborating with them, so you have supervisors, which is at some point, I think I'm going to follow up and see whether we can remap it again. But the idea was for this year probably to expand it also to include the boys. But we were doing, last year we did where they were mentoring girls. You have Microsoft engineers co-supervising with us in terms of with the specific with the ladies in IT, so that then at the end, then they did a presentation, then the person who presented the best was given, of course, the finalists, I think there were about 10 finalists, so all of them were given kind of gifts and all those kind of things. the top student was paid for the academic trip, so it's like a 200,000 kind of 250,000 Kenyan shillings kind of award, but in form of a trip. So that is the kind of framework that we want to do. So it's an exciting moment, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good. Thank you very much. So I think that is where we will end. So I will expect. So just the last word to say is that as I said, I will use the titles that you have sent here to use it like an attendance kind of, but also to see what you are actually doing. And then please make sure that you submit your title and abstract online before the deadline, which is on Sunday, before midnight. So as I said, please try to do it earlier on so that then you can be able to change, you can be able to see what is the percentage of similarity and so on. You can change many things so that then there's no last minute. And then that is the way we will be doing all deadlines will be due midnight on Sunday. So that is the format that we will be doing. So try to keep time and that will be good. Then next week, I said that I will share a schedule on how you can present. So you just make a simple PowerPoint presentation of the title and then the key points about the abstract, then just one slide or two, then you can be able to talk to us and then using with the other panelists, then we can be able to gauge how well your problem is, then before we go to the concept. Good. So bye-bye. I think that's where I will stop.